Support for this podcast comes from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative, connecting communities with the resources, infrastructure, and networks to ensure a vibrant local free press.
From KVPR in Fresno, this is Central Valley Daily. It's Thursday, August 7th. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. Hey, ChatGPT, I have a question. How are the kids doing?
About a third of teens are finding AI companion conversations as satisfying or more satisfying than human conversations.
Oh boy, we will dive into research on teen use of AI and what you should look out for. But first, these headlines. The U.S. Department of Justice released a new list of states, cities, and counties it plans to target for immigration arrests. As KVPR's Samantha Rangel reports, the so-called sanctuary jurisdictions do not include valley cities.
California is included in the list of places where the Trump administration says there is obstruction to federal immigration enforcement. Attorney General Pamela Bondi said these, quote, sanctuary jurisdictions impede law enforcement and put American citizens at risk. Los Angeles and San Francisco were included in the list, but the San Joaquin Valley was not included. That's a change from the earlier list, which named cities like Fresno and Madera and counties like Tulare. That had left local officials confused, since many don't consider themselves as sanctuary jurisdictions for immigrants. The DOJ has already filed lawsuits against some cities like New York, and says it plans to continue these legal actions. With KVPR News, I'm Samantha Rangel.
New studies suggest that recent large wildfires in Los Angeles and Maui may have left severe health impacts on people long after they were put out. AP correspondent Donna Warder has this report.
3 studies published by the American Medical Association found that the Hawaii fire in August 2023 and the Los Angeles wildfire earlier this year have taken a toll on human health. The blaze in Maui took the lives of more than 100 people, but it left 1 in 5 survivors with lung damage and as many as half with symptoms of depression. Research found that there were 13 suicide and overdose deaths in the month following the fire. And in the Los Angeles wildfire, in addition to the minimum 30 deaths, more than 400 other deaths could be blamed on the event because of interruptions in healthcare or other factors.
That was Donna Warder with the Associated Press. California's largest wildfire of the year is burning through San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara counties at the moment. The Gifford Fire is burning near Los Padres National Forest. Hot and dry weather is worsening the conditions, and triple-digit temperatures is expected to add to it. At least 4 people have been injured in the fire, and 900 buildings and homes are currently threatened. After filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, owners of a renewable diesel refinery in Bakersfield have received court approval for reorganization. But documents show it could be years before the plant turns a profit. Global Clean Energy Holdings filed for bankruptcy in April. The Rosedale Highway refinery ran hundreds of millions of dollars over budget, prompting the filing. The plant restarted operations late last year, but continues to lose money, according to the Bakersfield Californian. As part of its reorganization process, the company's handing over a share of equity to a company that was never reimbursed for doing over $100 million in work. Residents in the city of McFarland could soon vote on a sales tax to fund critical public services. City officials are proposing a 1% sales tax to fund fire protection, road repairs, police, and other services. The soonest any tax measure could appear before voters is in a special election this November.
The 2025 edition of KVPR's $10,000 drawing is underway. Do your part and support the station by purchasing a ticket for a chance to win $10,000. Tickets are $100 each and limited to 800 sold. Other prizes include a 2-night stay at the Cottage Inn in Pismo Beach and $250 to dine at restaurants in your community. Tickets are available now at kvpr.org/10K.
And now to our main story. Artificial intelligence is rapidly developing, and there's increasing concern that AI could be used nefariously, especially by teenagers. Think about teens maybe looking for shortcuts to make their lives easier, or using AI to cheat on exams. How about replacing real-life friends for AI tools? New research from Common Sense Media finds nearly 3 out of 4 teenagers have used so-called AI companions. Common Sense Media is a research nonprofit that advocates for safe technology use for families. Now, a quick search on my phone's app store reveals a long list of apps that offer a way to chat with AI friends, often in a romantic context. I see cartoons and realistic-looking AI-generated people. It appears that the idea is to create this feeling that you're actually texting with a friend, even if that friend is a computer. So to understand why this might be a draw for teens, I spoke with Dr. Supreet Mann. She's the director of research at Common Sense Media. I had to begin by asking her to clarify, what even is an AI companion?
We spent quite a while really thinking about the definition of AI companions for the purposes of this research. So we differentiated AI companions from other types of AI tools like ChatGPT that are much more sort of tools and not so much focused on the social interaction. Now, that's to say there are sort of traditional tool types of generative AI that can be used as companions if they're configured that way. So what we're really focusing on then are AI tools that have a heavy social component to them, where teens or young people or broadly are able to interact with them in ways that mimic how they might act and interact online with real people.
Like a text message or an email or some sort of like digital communication.
Yeah, and the report has a really robust section on the definition of AI companions. We kept it broad, not focusing so much on any specific platform, although we did include some platform examples for respondents like Character AI or Nomi as examples of traditional social companions, AI companions. But again, because the definition was broad, it was meant to extend beyond those platform-specific types of questions.
And what kind of things can teens or people generally do with these AI companions? We mentioned it's, like a text conversation, but what are they sort of getting out of it? Give us an insight into what this kind of looks like.
Yeah, so I think on the sort of less extreme level, it can be things like help me write a message to my girlfriend, help me write messages to my friends. I'm having a conflict with a friend. What kind of strategies can I use to employ? Those are the kinds of social interactions that we would see that might not rise to the level of being really concerning. Now, that can also run the gamut to being conversations that are much more intimate in nature. Questions about sexual exploration, questions about really dangerous topics, suicidal ideation, disordered eating conversations. So it can really run the gamut of these kinds of social conversations, from sort of like scripts or how to interact in their day-to-day lives to sort of more deep, meaningful attachments to the social companions.
And let's circle back to your research. You've hinted at some of your findings. What were other big takeaways that Common Sense kind of stands behind after doing this research?
So the interesting thing about this research is that there isn't any prior to this, really. It's such a rapidly changing space. We've been talking about AI companions for a few months, and people have had a lot of thoughts about how young people might be using it, but there wasn't research prior to ours. So what we were able to find was, one, how frequently adolescents are using AI companions, and a large majority, 72% of teens, said that they have ever used AI companions, and more than half use them with quite a bit of frequency, using them a few times a month or more. So that by itself was pretty interesting, just to see how often they're using these AI companions, that it is not sort of a one-off experience or interaction. This is happening with some regularity. I think that when we look at the data overall, what we're finding is that teens are reporting that they are, at least a small chunk of teens, about a third of teens are finding AI companion conversations as satisfying or more satisfying than human conversations. That's about a third of teens. Now, I think that by itself isn't that surprising when we think about this agreeability element again. So AI companions are meant to be agreeable, they're meant to reinforce. So to find them satisfying or as satisfying as their conversations with real humans perhaps isn't so surprising. But what is kind of scary is when we think about how these AI companions are making users feel. So the report and some of the data that we collected showed that about a third of users report feeling uncomfortable with something an AI companion has said. And also about a third have chosen to discuss serious or important topics with AI companions. Also, I think it was about a quarter said that they have shared personal identifying information with AI companions. So for a small but really notable chunk of kids, they are having kind of negative experiences online with AI companions. They are sharing personal or sensitive information. And when we think again about that agreeability and that desire to kind of keep kids engaged with the platform, well, those serious discussions that are being had with AI companions can really spiral quickly.
Well, that begets the question of what should parents do? What should they be aware of? And how should they sort of interpret this information?
For parents, I think a lot of these conversations need to happen the way many of their conversations should be happening around media and technology. We want to create safe spaces where our children are comfortable coming to us and talking to us about the things that they're seeing online, but this extends into the AI companion space as well. So have judgment-free conversations about AI relationships. Talk to your teens about what platforms they are using and how they feel about the companionship that they're gaining on those platforms versus their face-to-face social interactions. And like a lot of things that come with sort of new technology and AI spaces broadly, helping them understand what is unhealthy AI use, what are the warning signs that they should be looking for, what makes them feel uncomfortable. Like I said, we are really concerned about that group of kids that are seeing content that's making them feel uncomfortable. And remember that even though 2/3 said that they have not seen content that's made them feel uncomfortable or unsafe, that doesn't mean that they haven't been exposed to it. They might be reluctant to share that information. They maybe don't understand it for what it is, right? What we're talking about is, like I said, a really rapidly evolving space. Trying to pinpoint any one thing a parent can do is hard. But again, this really extends into how parents are talking to their kids broadly about their tech and media use. Create safe spaces, have these conversations without judgment. Be open as a parent to understanding that your teen's experience is different from your own experience and your own bias. And being able to have an open conversation is going to be more valuable than anything else.
Did your research find any upsides to this increased use of AI or AI companions? I feel like that's only fair to ask.
I think it did. One of the biggest upsides was, from my perspective, that teens' trust in AI companions is limited. So about half of teens said that they do not trust AI companions. Older teens are a little more skeptical than younger teens, but the fact that they are not completely putting their trust into what the AI companions are giving them as an output is encouraging. Now, I say that, and there are still just under a quarter of teens who reported that they trust either quite a bit or completely the AI companion. So of course, for these like quarter to a third of teens who are having kind of these scarier experiences online, we really want to be thinking about how best to serve them. But again, I think for most teens, the interactions that they're having are pretty low stakes. A lot of times they're having conversations about conversation starters for face-to-face. They're still finding their face-to-face interactions to be more valuable, or that they get more out of their face-to-face interactions than they do their online companions, which is great. But of course, we really want to be thinking about that percentage of kids that are having these kinds of scary experiences online.
Does Common Sense intend to do more research on AI companions moving forward?
Certainly on our radar. We wanted to really get out some baseline landscape sort of data around the use of AI companions. There have been so many questions about the use of AI companions, how they're using. This was meant to be kind of a quick landscape piece to give us something to jump off of for subsequent work. So I know there are other folks at other organizations that are doing wonderful work as a follow-up to this, trying to get more information about how teens are using AI companions and some of the implications of that use. Common Sense certainly is keeping the door open for more of that research as well moving forward.
Dr. Supreet Mann, Director of Research at Common Sense Media. Thank you so much for discussing these findings with us.
Thank you.
And that is today's show. Today's episode was produced by Jonathan Linden, Crescencio Rodriguez Delgado, and KVPR, with support from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. You can find the latest local news anytime at kvpr.org.
These days, there's so much news, it can be hard to keep up with what it all means for you, your family, and your community. The Consider This podcast from NPR features our award-winning journalism. 6 days a week, we bring you a deep dive on a news story and provide the context and analysis that helps you make sense of the news. We get behind the headlines. We get to the truth. Listen to the Consider This podcast from NPR.